Yo, what's going on, believers? Happy Monday. It is almost 5 a.m. Central Time, Monday. Going to do weekly outlook real quick. Give you some time to read through the risk disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. I am a belief advisor. I only advise you to get some belief in self. Now, looking at the economic calendar, if you recall last week, the big thing that I was looking forward to was the Federal Reserve interest rate decision. And what they ended up doing was basically another pause, remaining at 5.5%. And so now that that's behind us, just looking ahead at what's on the agenda for this week for the US dollar, nothing too crazy. The housing market has become more of a hot topic. So housing market related news, two different times. Tuesday morning, Monday relatively quiet. Wednesday, inflation related news, oil related news. Oil is becoming a little bit more of a hot topic. Oil prices have been on the up and up. Got some CPI from some other regions in Europe, Spain and Germany on Thursday. Got GDP news for the US. Powell speaks going into the end of the day on Thursday. Friday, GDP in Britain. Also get CPI from France and more Eurozone CPI, GDP from Canada. So a relatively busy week globally, not necessarily solely focused here on America. I have incorporated some forex pairs into my watch list, so to give me opportunity to look for some moves in those assets. But now, getting over to the charts. So I want to start with the monthly, just because this is the last week of the month. So once Friday's trading is done, that following Sunday that opens up will officially be October, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so October 1st is a Sunday. So that Sunday when the market reopens after this week closes will actually be the beginning of a new month. So this monthly candle is set to close at the end of this week. So I will be looking at the monthly perspective as well. Now, I haven't shown this markup in a while, but there is a monthly inefficiency for value gap or sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency up here that essentially, right, the dollar has been in a consolidation in between this higher one, which it's reaching up to, and this lower one here, which it dug into lower and now it's starting to push back higher. So just keeping that in mind and just to put that on here. But this isn't my layout for these. I do have them identified just on another layout, but I'm just, for these outlooks, I'm sticking to this one layout. All right, but as you can see, right, tap, 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 and then it dug into it, but nice rejection out, right, and now we're seeing it reach up towards the higher one. So been talking about this in previous outlooks about how just the dollar has been in its consolidation on a monthly in between these two inefficiencies, right? And so as far as the weekly is concerned for dollar, definitely looking forward to reach up to last week's high. There's no reason to anticipate anything other than that right now, given all the momentum that's going on with the dollar, until something really just kind of makes it blatantly obvious that it's starting to turn around. Just have to continue with the narrative, which is what, 6, 9, 10 straight up close weeks, right? But several of them here within that week, some deep runs lower, right, that ultimately ended up running back over that decline and closing higher to end the week. So 10 straight up close weeks. Let's see if it can put in an 11th, but it's not about where it closes for this. I'm more so interested in where is it most likely to reach towards, and I can see it most likely reaching towards this high. Now what it does at the high, that's where it gets interesting. That's where the smaller time frame tools that I've learned and practiced with come into play. But so that's dollar. Let's look at the NASDAQ really quick. So monthly chart. So last month dropped down into this inefficiency. It did dig lower, right? Just to put this on here, this will be the last one that I'll be showing this for, because I'm trying to keep these short and sweet, right? But just a review for anyone that wasn't right tuned in. So it dropped down into this inefficiency and rejected, but it did right color outside the lines here, which is okay. But with the dollar being so strong, seeing that it's running right back down to that low, and so the low of August, if it hasn't already touched it, so that's 804. The low on this candle is 797, so it's actually dropped down below the low of August already, which is a monthly level, right? So it took out a monthly low and so far rejecting off of that low. So as far as NASDAQ is concerned, for the monthly, it has already reached its objective. For the weekly, the low of last week was the objective, and it's already done that as well to start off the week. So this is again where the lower time frame tools that I have will come into play. Just seeing that, okay, so from a weekly perspective, it's already reached that weekly objective. So the most important levels for me for this week are going to be this low here, which was traded below and so far rejected. But also coming back to the, now we'll drop it down to the daily now. Also here, but also the opening price of this day, of this week as well, right? So today and this week open at the same price. So the opening price for the week and the low, well, actually not that low. The low from last week. So Friday's low, which was the low of last week. So this low here at 14,836 and a quarter, and the opening price for the week, those two levels, this range ultimately is the range that I'm most focused on as far as qualifying the bullishness or bearishness of price. Obviously, if it gets above that range, right? So anything above the opening price, I'm bullish. Ultimately, anything below the low of last week, I'm bearish, right? But I do have to keep in mind, as far as being bearish, it could dig below this 14,804, and it could, if it goes into a range underneath here, right, without really committing lower and breaking lows, if it goes into a range, I'll start to anticipate that as accumulation, and looking for a potential reason for it to rally with a correction lower in the dollar, right? So it's like an if-then situation, taking into account the dollar as well. Okay, and so that's the NASDAQ there, and then I'll just do ES as well. So E-mini S&P did the same thing, right? So inefficiency here, dropped down into it, did not color outside the lines like NASDAQ did, but as you can see, this month is a lot more aggressive below the low of August. So it's currently below that low. So in similar fashion, this low, and as far as the week is concerned, right, this low here as well. So let me put a line just so, right, we can be on the same page. So what am I talking about, right? I'm talking about this low here, and I'm talking about this low here. So both of those within this range here, right, is where my focus is. Anything below the range, right, I'm bearish, but if it goes into a range and it's just unwilling to continue lower, I'll look at that as potential accumulation, possibly want to run up into, right, this inefficiency here on a weekly with a correction lower on the dollar. I'm looking at it from the daily perspective. So same thing, right, would have anticipated Friday's low been taken out, already has, right? And then last but not least, I will just take a peek at Dow Jones. So it's been in a range similar to dollar, as you can see here, for quite a few months, and this was an inside month, right? As you can see, this month of August was completely inside the month of July. Now seeing September is ultimately still within that range. Now it's taken out the low of August, but it has not yet taken out the low from July. So that will be an area of significance, it's another monthly level, right? So, and it's not very far, less than 100 points lower right now for Dow Jones. So the US 30 chart can run this low and snap back within a range. That would definitely be a good sign overall for just bullish indices. But of course, right, I would like to see some sort of correction lower within a dollar to complement, right, this analysis. And so last but not least, we'll drop down to the daily. And then so same thing, right? Friday's low. I'm anticipating that to get taken out. It has already, right? So typically Mondays can be a little bit of a range bound day. And already, as you can see, the daily candle, right, had a nice rally higher, and it's dropped lower, and now it's bouncing again. So whenever there's a wick and a tail, which are equal or greater in length, right, than the body of the candle, that's the signature of a range, essentially. More or less, me not anticipating a breakout on this day, but the coming days, whether that be Tuesday or Wednesday, I'll definitely be expecting some sort of a larger body candle. But that's typically how the market moves, right? It'll have a few small body candles, range bound conditions, and then there'll be nice larger body candles for the expansions and the reversals and things like that. And so, with that being said, shout out to the believers, shout out to the dreamers, shout out to the homies that inspire me to be better each and every day. I love you. I appreciate you more than you know. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.